Alrighty, one more daily tangle. This one is called Matu, something like that. It's got a wavy line with another wavy line that kind of comes up and connects to it. That makes like an OG kind of grid, but not really, because it's not really a grid, even though the sample here kind of shows it like a grid, because you then aura this and you need the space in between, so it's not, you wouldn't be drawing the next one right up against it. So there's that one, and then you aura that line, and then you put these little spots right here, and then you do them the other way. So that they kind of go almost, this almost makes almost a straighter line going across that way. And it makes this sort of a ribbony effect here. In the sample, it's going all the way across, and I did that also. I was playing with this one and the previous one, the heart, fan of hearts, on a bigger, I don't know if you can be able to see this. Let me see. Okay, yeah, you can see it. Okay, I was afraid it was too big. In my big journal, I put the fan of hearts in the middle, and then I put this as the back. The Matu is the background. I worked on that yesterday, and so instead of going straight across today, I thought maybe I would try doing a bit of a shape or something different, so that they don't just end at on the edges. So I'm going to give that a go and see what happens. I think I want a diagonal shape to start, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a string. I want a diagonal, but I want it to have a bit of a curve. So I think I'm going to do like that, and I think I'm going to make a really small, like a border, not really a border, but I'm going to go ahead and put this small suggestion line right there, and I'm going to go across here, but I want to leave space so that I can do something at the edge that's different from just ending it here. I want to do something different, maybe something more like this here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do yet, but I don't think I want to get that close to the edge. I'm going to try to keep it more toward the middle. So let's give this a go. First we're going to make this sort of wavy line, S-shaped curve. I do like that, and then it comes out and in, and out and in, comes up and touches that line like that. We're going to do like that, and then you aura that, and see why I wanted to leave this space, so that I have room to do this aura. And do this aura. And I'm going to end it there, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do there yet, so I'm not going to touch them yet, because I haven't decided how I want to end it. But I'm going to also aura this. I'm going to leave that not attached quite yet. I can bring them together, but I might decide I'm going to do something else with those ends, the tails of this. And then here you kind of do, you follow, let's follow this curve from here to here, kind of here. and this curve from here to here like that, and this curve from here to here, and this curve from here to here. Going the other way, this curve from here to here, this curve from there to there, this curve coming down like that, and around like this, right? And then also going the other way. So then I want this curve coming down here to there. Oops, got a little carried away. And I want this curve, yeah? No? Well, maybe I don't need that. Shows a second one coming this way, I guess, like that. So coming up from there, like this. And a second one on this side coming somewhere in here, like that. Something like that. I'm not sure that's exactly right, but that we will make do. Trying to decide. I'm stopping and thinking what I want to do with this end, and I'm still not sure what I want to do with that end. So I'm not going to do that end just yet. I'm going to do another one of these though. I'm going to do up and down and up and down, that, and then I want to make a nice curvy thing happening here. And then I want to aura that, and I think this time I'm going to make my aura pretty wide. This is where I start to, I do the pattern as it's kind of drawn, and then I start doing other things to it to make it more me, and more curvy and less structured is more me. And if I'm going to make this nice wide aura, it's going to, if I was to just draw this, it's going to go behind, and it's going to come out. It would become here, and it would come out here, and it would come like so. So most of this is actually going to be behind this one, which is fine. I just have to remember to pick up my pen, come out, and aura, come back in, and it's going to be behind, and it's going to come out, and it's going to go back in, and it's behind, and it's going to come out somewhere in there. That works. Works for me. And I think I've got an idea. I think right here I want just one big one like that, and then also a big aura that is going to be kind of overlapped like that and like this. So I've got them in different scales. I've got them kind of small, medium, really big. I've got them going at a diagonal in my design, and I've got them overlapping. So all of those things make them more interesting than if they were just by themselves straight. And then I think I'm going to kind of connect them somehow. I think these are going to come this way and these are going to go that way. So these ends, I'm going to make them kind of go this direction, and these ends are going to come this direction somehow. Haven't quite decided how yet, but somehow. I think I think this one's going to go behind these guys here. I think this one's going to connect to this one. So let me come right there and connect that like that. So that one is just going to disappear behind these. And these guys are actually going to connect. Let's make it small right there. Make it interesting, not just round. Alright, that's okay. I'll do that on this other side maybe. No, I want to do something different on this side because I've got this space here that feels like it needs something. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this ribbon up and around and behind like that. And then it's going to come up and behind and come out and get really big and go in like that. See how that went? It came out of here and it went behind, and then it's kind of just like disappearing behind that. And then these two then can connect, but I want to connect them like I did this. Let's go here like that, and then this is coming out. Let's say it came out there and then it comes here. Let's give it a little narrow and then comes in there. So this one is connected to that one, and this one's kind of doing its thing. This one, I think maybe it needs to come out over here. So this one in the middle kind of is doing its own thing, and these two are just hugging it. That makes for an interesting shape. Now I just have to kind of keep them all straight. And then on here, I want to do this ribbon thing. So it's coming from this outside, and it's going here. It's coming from this outside, and it's going there. Coming from this outside, going there. And then going the other way. It's coming, let's turn it. Coming from the outside, so it's going there. Coming from the outside, and so it's going there. And there. Okay, it's getting to be harder to figure out which one is which and how they're overlapping. I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to do this with pencil right here, so I know that this is overlapping. This is the outside one, the one that I drew first, just so I don't lose it and get confused. And I may have to go back and erase that pencil mark, or I could incorporate it with my shading, but that's how I want to not get confused as to what I'm doing here. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to come back out again there, like that, and with this one here, and kind of there. Okay. So I think I'm going to decide that on the bottom side of each of these is going to be a thicker, sort of a thicker line. Right there. I don't know if that's the bottom or the top or the side. I said bottom because that's the way it's facing me, kind of off to the side of the camera. But I want some contrast. So basically I'm done with the pattern. Now I just need to embellish. So I have to decide where I'm doing that embellishment. So I think on this side of each one of these, I want this darker, thicker ribbon-ish thing happening. That will help define each element, the 3 different elements, if I have a dark line on one side of each one. I'm just going to make it so that it kind of comes out where the bend is. Comes further out. That went in, and then this comes out. And it goes in. Fill that in. And I make all these decisions just as I go, as I'm drawing. I just let I let my pen kind of do its thing, let my hand do what it kind of decides it's going to do. I let the drawing just sort of take shape. I don't plan anything really. You saw what I planned. I planned that it was going to go on the diagonal, and I planned that it was not going to be exactly straight across. That's all that I planned. The rest of it is just kind of coming as I draw, and I decide to make compositional choices. I think it's good to do these monotangles, though. They really help to expand your thought processes as you think about how to do each pattern maybe slightly differently to make your monotangle look not always the same. Okay, now this is going to be the more challenging one. So I have to follow where this went. It comes here and it goes behind that one. And then it comes out. So it would be really big here, and it would be coming back in at this point here. And then it go out again, and then it would be wide, and it would be coming back in at this point. Right? Yeah. And then it's coming from here. It's going wide right there. So most of this one is buried behind this other one. And then I think on this side of this, I want it to do the same thing. I want this ribbon to kind of be wider on this side, even though it's not part of the actual pattern of any one individual pattern. I want it to be the same sort of thing where it's got that thick dimension, because it's part of keeping some sort of consistency and giving it that dark, bold, because that helps, I think, sometimes to just ground your picture and to make it graphic. Part of what I really like about Zentangle is that graphic black and white, darks and lights. It's really cool. Alright, what do I want to do next? I think I want this one also. But I think I want it the other way. I want the thicker thin there, and I want the thicker there on this side. Kind of like, looks Okay, now I've got the impression in my head of eyelids, and I'm going to have a hard time letting that go. But maybe that's what I need to just embrace it and just go with the whole eyelid thing. So this is on the inside part of the tangle. If that's if this, yeah, that's just hard to describe. I'll just leave you to watch and figure it out what I'm doing. I think sometimes people get confused in thinking that a pattern is super complicated, and the pattern itself is not complicated. It's just that you've repeated, you've done your embellishments and your repetitions, and added complexity, even though it's a simple tangle. So this, I would think, is not a beginner tangle. I would call this a medium, or I don't think it would be an advanced tangle because it's not that hard. But I wouldn't put this at the top of my list of teaching this to a beginner. This would be something that would cause too much anxiety, I think, as a beginning tangler. And then this one. Do that with this one as well. So whatever I do to one of the elements, I'm going to do it the same to all of them, even though they're in different scale, to make some consistency. And on the sample, and even on the, I don't know, my phone turned off, but even on my one I did here, I like this kind of swirl in the middle. I think I made it too tight here. I think I want it a little looser of a swirl, but I think I'm going to continue that swirl look here. But I'm not going to get quite so tight with it. I'm going to make it a little more like that. Not quite as compact, a little. And this once again kind of reinforces that eye look that I've kind of, not that I set out drawing eyes. I didn't set out to draw eyes, but they kind of look like eyes to me. And now they look like eyes that are like hypnotized. So I want to do something like that, and then I want to add, I do like these, I like this part, these kind of striations, so I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to choose, they're not going to be on all of them, I'm just going to choose some of them. I'm just going to go up and around and down. I'm just going to go up and down and around. Neighborhood dog is barking. That's not unusual. I think this one's going to get it. Because I like that it's going behind, and that'll help emphasize that. I think this one. That's a bit tight, but that's alright. Doesn't have to have that many lines to get the same feel. I just don't want to overdo. I don't want to get it so you can't, it looks like I filled in or something. And I must say, I can tell that this is, if you've watched previous of my videos, this is a pen that I accidentally pushed too hard on, and it's got an ever so small bend to this nib, and I can totally tell. Let me do this one. Sometimes it doesn't draw as smooth as I would like if I've accidentally turned the pen. And I think I want this one. Something like that. And to me, at this point, I know where I'm going with it, and I think it's done. But you might look at it and say, ugh, just ugh, that doesn't look like it's finished. Ugh. I'm just turning it to decide which direction I want to sign it. But the shading will make a big difference. And I'm going to erase that pencil that I did because I want to kind of not shade it right there, I don't think. So just in case I change my mind on where I want to shade, I want to get rid of that. That was just my guideline. And it's okay to have guidelines and then erase them, because this is art. This is not rule following. It is art. There are quote unquote rules in art. I mean, if you want to draw a perspective drawing, there are certain parts of perspective drawing that you need to learn, because that's how your eye perceives perspective and distance. And so yeah, there are some things you have to follow, but you don't have to follow them exactly the same every single time. It's more of a guideline than a rule. So I'm going to go around this. I do want that, but I want it darker. And I only want it over that part and not there, because that's my negative space. I don't want it in my negative space, and I accidentally went into my negative space right there. So I can get rid of that. It doesn't need to be there. And you'll note that I'll turn my tile so that the point of my blending stump is right up against the line where I want to blend. If I turn my blending stump this way, it will smudge onto this side of this line, and that's not where I want my shading and my shadows. So I always make sure the tip of my blending stump is up against the line so that this part can pull the pencil outward and keep my line kind of crisp and clean. Okay, like that. And then this one is on top of that one. I want to make it darker, I think, right there. You can always go back with the pencil and add more pencil if it's not dark enough for you and it's not giving you the look that you want. Or you could just use what's left over on your blending stump and do a little bit of something without even putting pencil down. and that gives you a lighter look. So if I want to go in here and just emphasize that that's further back, the darker it is, the further back that section will look. There. See, sometimes I will do a little bit of shading and I won't even put any pencil down. I will just use whatever's left on the blending stump because I just want a super light, soft value. I don't want a dark there. Okay. And so this one is on top of this one, but that's negative space right there. I don't want any shading in that. I just want it here because this is definitely on top of this one. I want it just to here because that part there is negative space also. Keep track of your negative space. Negative space just means the whole, the thing that isn't an actual object in your drawing. So if you've decided that these things are solid and you're going to shade them, then just don't put shading in the negative space. Or you could do it the other way around. You could decide that these things are solid, but you're just going to go around the object when you're doing your shading, and you're only going to put your shadows, your shading, in the negative space, and then your object is casting a shadow onto your page. So either way works. You just have to decide ahead of time which way you are shading that. So like this I'm going to do with no extra pencil. Just going to go in here and give it a little something something. Because I want it to have a little bit of dimension, but I don't want it to go too far back into the distance. I want the distance to be these ones here, but I actually want this darker. I like it really dark right there. I think that's what it's calling for. It's calling for this one and this one to be way further in the back from that one on top. That one on top is just sitting way up on top of the other two. So in order to do that, to give that illusion, you actually have to find that and make it darker than I originally had it, because I've decided that it is actually sitting further back. In order to give that illusion, I need to make it darker, just on the parts where that's sitting further back. And don't forget to go back and blend. Doesn't matter if you're blending far away or just up against the line, just softening it just a little bit. It's amazing what your eye can pick up. Now I have to do this is coming on top of this bit here, so I actually need, that's not negative space, so I need to define that by putting some shadow right there. That a little bit right there. Same thing here. I think I want a little bit right there. Okay. And then this is on top of there. Needs a little bit right there. Nice and soft. A little bit right here. So this is a really organic. I've really created quite the organic look here, haven't I? Look right there and right here. Needs a little bit. Alright, a little bit softer right there. I don't want it so bright. Alright, that's totally different than this. I mean, like, yeah, totally different. This is a good picture here. You can see how the paper, this paper is a much whiter paper than the one in my sketchbook. I like this kind of yellowish paper that's in my sketchbook. It makes me happy. But I've got the white paper for my squares, and that's fine too. But they're totally different. Just starting out with deciding that they're going to go horizontally or diagonally with this sort of bit of a curve to it, they're not straight, totally changes the look of this pattern. And that's all I did, was I made a choice. So there's that pattern. Its name is escaping me. Matu. Matu with a whatever that is. Dots over the top. There's my pattern. One more down. A few more to go for the week.